This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Now, I want to talk to you guys about British boxing promoters, and I'm not talking Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren. Of course, these two are like leading the charge, and everybody else seems to be following behind. But there are a couple of guys who do have a platform, they do have a name to branch out and to make their business, their promotional company, a success. Of course, I'm talking about David Haye of Haymaker and Barry McGuigan of Cyclone Promotions as well, and Mick Hennessy of Hennessy Sports. So these three are probably, or arguably, the bigger names outside of Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. But all three of those do seem very, very inactive, although the most active is probably Barry McGuigan of Cyclone Promotions. Of course, he puts on shows with headliners, usually lately, with Josh Taylor. So he does have that, and with the relationship he has with Channel 5 as well. So again, he has a platform, but very, very inactive, and I wish that these guys would be a bit more active. Obviously with his son Shane McGuigan doing like full-time trainer and that as well. So I'm hoping that 2019 we can start seeing Cyclone Promotions push a whole lot more, especially with Josh Taylor being part of the World Boxing Super Series. Will that Super Series carry on? Who knows? These guys seem to be hitting some kind of brick wall. Personally, I think that these guys have over-edged themselves based on the success of the first season. Now they've added 3 weight divisions and putting on fights in places that don't seem to be really popping, I suppose. So not really generating as much money. But anyway, so of course, Josh Taylor, he is tied up with the World Boxing Super Series, so this does hinder Cyclone, that's for sure. But David Haye, what his reason is, what his reason is even for being inactive when he had a deal, was it with the Dave channel or maybe Channel 5 now as well, where he's having a stable. He had like Willie Hutchinson, he had Cody Davis and Joe Joyce and Michael Venom Page and others, of course. But it just seems to, after what 2 or 3 shows, it just seemed to have died. And nobody knows what's going on. There's no kind of statement. We don't know what's happening. And it's a shame because it's another promotional company that's putting on boxing for us here in the UK. Of course, the PBC and Al Heyman has joined up with ITV, so we are getting more. So we can't complain too much, right? But David Haye started off great. You know, he was putting on shows. He was signing fighters. He had this big press conference with Richard Schaefer, our ring star, and all this kind of things. So everything was looking great. Then it just died. And no idea what's happening, and hopefully Haymaker will pull his socks up this year and get cracking. I mean, listen, if you get a TV deal where you're guaranteeing X amount of fights per year or fight nights, then there's no real reason why it shouldn't really be happening, right? But, of course, with Mick Hennessy and that as well, listen, he has contacts. I don't know if he's burnt bridges with the likes of Frank Warren. I know these guys were very close at one time, and Mick Hennessy, some of his fighters, for example, like Hughie Fury and Tyson Fury at the time as well, as Savannah Marshall, and there's plenty of other ones as well, where these guys could always fight on Box Nation, but he decided to try and go solo away from Frank Warren. Again, I don't know why, and ended up putting Joseph Parker against Hughie Fury for a world title fight on YouTube. Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. You should always dip your toes in new waters. You never know. But again, a lot of his events just seem to have died. And I don't know whether it's a case of, is it financial? Is it a case of he doesn't have the connections? Apparently, he was linking up with David Haye at one point as well. Don't know what the hell happened there. But things, again, just seem to have died. And hopefully, Mick Hennessy of Hennessy Promotions start putting on some more shows for us. Because for me, all the promoters here in the UK, the more that they do, and I know it's difficult because every event that they put on is a risk financially for them, because they've got to pay the arena, they've got to pay the sponsorships, the insurances, the fighters, and so on and so on. So everything's a risk. And unfortunately, if you don't have the platform, such as a Sky, a BT Sport, etc., then it is difficult. So I do get it. But I do feel that all these promoters, plus other ones, which I'm going to mention in a minute, should use other platforms. You know, Mick Hennessy was heading in the right direction when he decided to use YouTube. Why not? There's no reason why any boxing promoter out there who says, well, I can't really put on shows because I don't have TV. That's a lame excuse. When you've got YouTube and you've got other platforms, it's a lame excuse. There is always a way to do it. But of course, a lot of it is about promoting the events. A lot of it is about getting people to know about the events. Look at MTK Global. These guys are putting on shows and they're using IFL to stream their fights. Okay, so these guys can do it, so there's no reason why any others can't do it. Okay, as I said, it is a risk, I get it. Other promoters out there, El Siesta of Siesta Boxing, he's doing real good. Of course, not just El Siesta, but other promoters as well. They do manage fighters as well as promote events. So, of course, you probably see these guys pop up on some Matchroom shows or Frank Warren shows or shows around the world. And especially with El Siesta, he has some of his managed fighters go upon the Matchroom shows. Of course, he manages fighters not just here in the UK, but in Europe. Of course, he's originally from Russia, but he's UK based, and he puts on shows in Bracknell. In fact, he's got one coming up real soon, which I did a video about a few days ago or a week ago. So he's a very busy man, so I cannot knock El Siesta's work ethic at all. But again, to make the masses aware of any kind of events that he has, he needs to reach out to YouTube channels, he needs to reach out to the radios, he needs to reach out to other platforms on social media, okay, and not just hope that the fighters are going to get it out there, which he doesn't, of course. And El Siesta, as I said, he's very busy. He loans a lot of his fighters to huge shows for Sky and BT and etc, and he puts on shows in Europe, Latvia, Lithuania, etc. And you probably see him but didn't realize it was him, but where he does some translating for some of the fighters, for example, like Lebendev and others who don't speak English, so he translates for them while you're watching, say, a Matchroom press conference, for example. So that is El Siesta, but he does put on some shows here in the UK, so long may it continue for him. Another one would be probably Wraith Promotions, Steve Wraith, and of course, listen, not just him, of course, he's got partners in there as well with Jeffries, but I do feel that, again, he puts on a lot of shows, so I can't knock the work ethic. I really can't. I feel that Steve Wraith, I mean, he doesn't just do boxing promoting and managing, but he does, you know, he writes books and he does acting and he does other things. So he's got his fingers in many different avenues, and of course with the Newcastle United legends as well. So he's very busy. In fact, he's probably one of the most busiest people I've ever seen in my life, to be absolutely fair. But unfortunately for him, while he's putting on a lot of shows, which is great, and he does it prominently in the northeast as well. So you're talking Newcastle, obviously that's where that's from. He goes Sunderland, he goes to Middlesbrough, he goes to Darlington, Houghton-le-Spring, Durham, County Durham, and wherever else. So he's always filling out places, okay? Well, I say filling out, he's always reaching out to these places. But unfortunately, people don't know his events are on. And again, this comes back to these kind of promoters need to use other platforms, and or at least reach out and say, hey, listen, would you mind letting people know that we've got a show on coming up or here, there, or wherever? And people won't mind doing it, and people aren't going to charge for it. Of course not, because it would be nice to be at least reached out to, do you know what I mean? And for, say, Steve Wraith, listen, I don't think Steve Wraith likes me particularly too much, because I've gone in on Frank Warren and that before. So I don't think he likes me very much, so no issues. I don't lose any sleep over it, for whatever his reason may be. But fact is, I am #1 in the northeast of England. That's not being big-headed, that's just the absolute truth of it. The #1 boxing platform, that includes YouTube, radio, TV, you name it. There is no bigger platform than myself, but he hasn't reached out, not once. Why? Because he's got a personal thing, in my opinion. But listen, that's on him, but if he doesn't have to, he can reach out to other ones. Any promoter can reach out to other YouTubers. Get your brand out there. Let people know that events are on. Because there's so many events happening probably in your town and you don't know about it. Because the promoters are not doing it right. They think just by announcing something on Twitter is enough. It's not enough, is it? It really isn't enough. And these people can sell out arenas if they reach the right platforms. They really can. Other one, for example, like Dennis Hobson. Dennis Hobson was, once upon a time, nearly the man of UK boxing. He was so close to it. You know, he's brought on like prospects and brought them right the way up to like world champions. He's had a great stable of fighters over the years. He really has. Even Ricky Hatton was with him at one point. You're talking Stuart Hall. I think it was Jamie McDonnell, or was it Gavin? I'm pretty sure it was Jamie McDonnell. They are like a Doncaster based, I believe, or at least Yorkshire based. But again, nearly the man. But for whatever reason, now Dennis Hobson is becoming almost the forgotten man of boxing. Listen, again, Dennis Hobson, he's been screwed over on quite a few occasions. And one of the things that I like about Dennis Hobson is the fact that he does do everything that he can for his clients. He's lost money, you know, he's put on shows and the shows have flopped financially because he's overpaying his fighters. He does everything that he can. And so, but it does seem lately that either he's not putting on shows because he doesn't want to, I don't know whether he's lazy, or he's just not generating the money. His fighters are leaving for other stables. But again, Dennis Hobson, I remember beginning of last year, so beginning of 2018, he announced some TV deal. I forget what it was with now, but it was like a free-to-air TV show where he announced that he was going to be putting on 12 shows or something like that, 10, 12 shows throughout 2018. And then coming into 2019, he was going to put on even more. So, and I'm like, excellent. You know, this is brilliant. This is more boxing events for us. But he just seems to have died off. And he put on, was it 4 shows last year? 4. When you're promising 10 or 12, whatever it was, 4 is pretty pathetic. As I said, there could be plenty of reasons behind it. I don't know. And I know that he is having some, or has had some issues with some fighters. He has been screwed over, that's for sure. But if you've got a TV deal and they're saying to you, okay, put on 10, 12 shows per year, then surely you should be putting on 10, 12 shows per year, right? But not only that, again, you need to be reaching out to platforms. Boxing, especially here on YouTube, is booming right now. So there are plenty of them around. Always look. And listen, again, I'm not offering myself to anybody. So what I would say to say like Dennis Hobson is look at those around the Yorkshire kind of area. For Al Siesta, look at those around the Bracknell, Reading, London kind of area, and so on and so forth. For any kind of promoters, whatever your area is, that's what you should look at, because that's probably where a lot of their subscribers and boxing fans come from, to let them know that there are shows on. But of course, you do need to be picky. There are a lot of Pratt channels out there, that's for sure, so you do need to be careful. But back on to Dennis Hobson, as I said, he was almost the man at one point. I have no idea what happened. I'm not even too sure if he still lives in the UK anymore, to be honest. I don't know. But hopefully this year, we're going to see one hell of a push from Dennis Hobson. Get yourself off that sofa or whatever it is that you're doing and get cracking. Make the boxing world your own again. That's what you need to do. Listen, he's an intelligent guy and he's got the heart to look after his fighters. But as I said, he has been stabbed in the back on several occasions. But he does need to get cracking again. I don't want Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and that to like lead the charge and then have like a Haymaker and a Cyclone as the next guys and then everybody else. Not at all. I want some of these guys like Al Siesta, like Steve Wraith and Dennis Hobson to get up to these guys and then on. Hell, work together. I mean, you know, what's wrong with that? Again, like a Stefy Bull. Stefy Bull, very, 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 very hard-working guy. Very hard-working guy. I like Stefy Bull a lot. Again, Yorkshire kind of area. Now, I don't quite know what the deal is with some of the promoters. Do you only have to put on shows in your area? For example, Steve Wraith, do you only put on shows in the North East? Does Stefy Bull, why do you only put on shows in like the Sheffield area? Same with Dennis Hobson there. Is there any reason why you can't go to London or can't go to Manchester, can't go to Blackpool, can't go... Do you know what I mean? So again, Stefy Bull, I don't quite know what is going on with Stefy Bull. I do like him. I like him a lot. He's very hard working and I don't quite know what kind of deals that it is that he's getting. But again, he's a guy and his team go under the radar because you're not sticking your head out of the water enough to say, hey, I'm still here. I'm still putting on shows, because people just don't know that you're putting on shows. And it's not just these guys, there's plenty of them. Obviously, I can't go into all of them. Obviously, I don't know all of them. And this is, again, one of the issues as well, that we don't know who a lot of these people are. I said there's probably shows going on in virtually every town and city here in the UK, and you don't know that there's actually a boxing event in your town, in your county, within driving distance, within a bus ride distance, whatever, because it's not being promoted right. You guys... The promoters need to get onto the radio. You need to be using your Instagram. You need to be using your Twitter. You need to be reaching out and going on to YouTube channels. Those who have some kind of voice, who have some kind of platform to reach a certain demographic. But as I said, you do need to be careful because there are a lot of Pratt channels out there. Truthfully, there is. There really is. And if you're just using, say, a YouTube channel who's only got, let's say, 50 subs, what's the point? Because you're not going to sell any tickets, are you? But I hope that all these boxing promoters make a real push 2019. I want to be seeing and hearing about a lot of their events. There's so many events that come and go, and I don't know about it. Unless you really look for it, you don't know about it, and we shouldn't have to look for it. We should know. It should be thrown at our faces that there is an event in Sheffield, there is an event in Bolton, there's an event in Manchester, in Newcastle, in Sunderland, wherever it may be. We should know about it. We shouldn't have to go looking for it. Anyway, I mean, I could go on about like various other ones and whatever, but the thing is that I want some of these other promoters to really make a push this year. I really do. As I said, I'm not offering myself, not at all, but reach out to YouTubers, reach out to radio stations, reach out and do more work on your social media. Get people to do it for you. Let people know that you have an event on, and not just one event. What about the event after that, and the event after that, and the event after that? We want to know about it, and it doesn't always have to be on TV. If you don't have a TV deal, oh well, boo-hoo. You know, there are other ways of doing it. You can create your own YouTube channel and stream it. You can contact IFL. You can contact me if necessary. Listen, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to tell you no, okay? Contact any other ones. If you're in Sheffield, for example, like a Dennis Hobson or like a Stefy Bull, reach out to like the boxing librarian, for example. He's based, or I believe he is, around that kind of area of Yorkshire. I'm not saying that you know, he will, but it would be nice if you reached out, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind giving you a shout out to say, hey, listen, Stefy Bull has an event on next month at this place. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. Listen, I'm not going to speak for him, obviously I don't know, but it's an example. I want British promoters to start getting their brand out there. That's what I really want. I don't want to just be talking about Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. I want to be talking about you lot. And I can't be talking about you lot if I don't know your event is on. Anyway, that's kind of my message. Obviously, you guys, if you're still listening to me right now, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.